Quarter-to-9 here on Morning Live. Reverend Frank Chikane was the Director General in the presidency at the time of former President Thabo Mbeki's recall in 2008. Remember his book, 8 Days in September, The Removal of Thabo Mbeki. He details those events that played out before and after the ANC NEC's decision to recall Mbeki. He has since issued a statement drawing comparisons between Mbeki's recall and that of President Jacob Zuma. Well, for his reaction to the latest developments, we've got Reverend Chikane on the line, and he's with us, remembering former President Thabo Mbeki's recall in 2008 and what's happening now. Reverend, thank you very, very much for being with us, and welcome to Morning Live. Reverend Chikane, are you able to hear me? All right, seems that we've lost Reverend Chikane on there on the line. But what I want to do is while we try and get him back, let me try and just read a little bit of what Reverend has actually said. He's written this article, and he's basically saying, for me, this is a classic case of what Deja Vu is, which is different from its original French meaning of something already seen. This is a case of feeling like one has been here before, but really has not been here. What one cannot deny, though, is that Setswana idiomatic expression. I'm going to try and say it. I don't know if I can. Molaya Khosi Oa Itia. I hope I said that right. Basically, which literally means the advice you give to the king will be applicable to you, has come true. This is almost, but not quite, like the chickens have come home to roost. Or one can use the golden rule that one should treat others as they wish to be treated. This is the real Deja Vu. But Reverend Frank Chikane goes on to say Mbeki's case is radically different from the Zuma case in many respects. Reverend, are you back on the line? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back on the line.
Good. All right. So I was busy reading a little bit of a column or an article that you've written, because I'm sure a lot of people are asking you to draw comparisons between what happened during the recall and the NEC meetings of Mbeki in comparison to what's happening here with Jacob Zuma. Can you sort of give us a bit of comparisons here? Is it deja vu or not quite, as you've mentioned in this article?
No, I'm arguing because people think these two cases are the same. And I'm saying they are not the same. When Mbeki was removed, it was after the national conference. And that conference really was more about the action he took against the deputy president once he was in cabinet. And as you know, there was a huge campaign which made sure that Mbeki is removed. So his case was not about issues of governance. It wasn't about issues of corruption. It was about internal processes within the party. Mm-hmm. And so I say they are not the same. And you could go through a number of stages about it, yeah. But at the present moment, I can understand the way in which the leadership is handling the matter of the president. And I think it's the right way to go about it. Get the NEC to make a decision. But again, in the Mbeki situation, there were certain things done which could be close to violating the Constitution. And that's why I understand the NEC following the stages, recall, ask him to resign voluntarily. If that doesn't work, then you go to Parliament, because it's only Parliament that can remove a president.
So when we look at the difference between former President Thabo Mbeki, it was said to have given a very strict deadline to deliver his letter. You know, this is what we're hearing. I mean, this is what we saw unfolding, and yet it seems that this is a lot more drawn out for President Jacob Zuma, and he's been given a lot more time than President Thabo Mbeki or former President Thabo Mbeki had. Is this the truth, or is it very similar?
Yeah, but I mean, they are not similar, because Mbeki was told Saturday morning, and by Sunday, they wanted a letter at 7 o'clock. And that's when some of us said, this is unacceptable, because constitutionally, if you are saying to him, you must the surrender of the resignation letter. It's almost like putting a guard on you and say, by 7 o'clock, you must deliver the letter. At a party conference, not in parliament. And that's what my book deals with. And I can understand why the NEC is handling it in a careful way, where they give him a chance to resign. If he doesn't resign, they recall in terms of the constitution of the party. And if he doesn't accept the recall, then you go to parliament.
I read something very, very interesting that you put into this article as well. In your statement, you're basically saying there are strong views on the so-called two centers of power. In fact, you go on to say that the current crisis is not about two centers of power. In fact, you were there during the transition between former President Nelson Mandela and Mbeki. And obviously, I mean, there's the power handing over, and you're feeling that this is not the reason. So in your view, what do you think this is all about?
No, I mean, I know the leaders have been very careful to say they are not acting based on a judgment on the president. They are acting on a political basis. And they want to make sure that the new leadership starts afresh and be able to prepare for the election in a climate where they don't have the baggage of the past. Now, you know, as veterans and stalwarts, if I have to speak from that perspective, we have said that what happened in the last few years have impacted on the ANC negatively. It has taken the ANC on a wrong trajectory, and that unless it fixes, the ANC is going to suffer, and the country is paying a price. And that was the basis on which we said the ANC should change. And when they failed, then we said, well, then we are appealing to the president to actually consider voluntarily to resign. And that's what we called for. And I mean, the ANC has now accepted, and I think we should give them credit for that.
I just want to wrap this up by talking about the Constitution. And I mean, you've been very vocal about, and again in your statement, you say that Mbeki's removal bordered on being treasonable for 3 different reasons, and you go out to describe those reasons. But a recall is allowed as long as it goes that parliamentary route. But do you think there are grounds, and do you think that President Jacob Zuma is a very clever man, and he knows the Constitution, and he knows his rights very, very well? Do you think he's going to challenge this recall?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he knows the Constitution. The point is that the parliament can have a motion of no confidence on the president, and they can also go the route of impeaching a president. So it's in the Constitution. Whoever tries to remove the president, if he doesn't resign voluntarily, will have to follow those constitutional prescribed procedures.
All right, we leave it there. Reverend Frank Chikane, thank you so very, very much for talking to us here on Morning Live. Let's take a break. We'll have Shap Shap after this. Stay tuned.